thicker.
Yeah, buddy. Lightweight, baby.
What's up, guys? I'm Josh and I lift things, and I'm here to talk about back width versus back thickness. So this video kind of serves as a little teaser for my upcoming video, and it also is a continuation of my EMG data sucks series. Back width and back thickness is a fitness meme that's persisted for many years. There is some validity to it, just like most fitness memes, but people tend to blow these up in like wild ghost stories. I'm sure you've all heard it before. Yo, this is my back width section. Next time's back thickness. Bro, vertical pulls for width and then horizontal for thick. Now, let's set some standards for the rest of the video going forward. Back width is purely a reference to your lats. The main idea here being that as your lats grow, they will increase the width of your back. Back thickness, on the other hand, is building up the smaller muscles of your upper back, primarily your traps and rear delts. But if you want to get really specific, we can talk about the rhomboids and the teres and all the rotator cuff muscles and all that bullshit. In my opinion, you should also be focusing on your spinal erectors here, but I digress. The main idea with training them is they make your upper back pop more, and from the side, they would obviously add more thickness. They don't really contribute, supposedly, to making your back wider. Before I potentially get into dismantling the idea of training specifically for back width or back thickness, or using vertical pulls for one or horizontal for another, or changing pull days to facilitate either goal, let me just talk about how this idea doesn't make any fucking sense. Tell me, when your lats grow, do they only decide to grow out in one direction? They only want to grow horizontally? No, that's fucking brain dead. They grow in every direction. Sure, the fibers primarily run horizontally, but you could say that about literally any muscle. The chest runs horizontally. Are you training for chest width and chest thickness? Probably not. You train chest. If I told you that I'm training for arm thickness, what would you say? Like, do you differentiate between the tricep and the bicep? Like what's happening? No, when you train a muscle, not only will it get wider, it will also get thicker. Thicker. Big lats will increase back thickness. In fact, the main muscle mass in your back will be from your lats. Your lats also cover most of the other tiny muscles you're hoping to create hypertrophy in when you train for quote-unquote back thickness, meaning they will just make your lats look bigger. The lats are the prime contributor here to your back thickness, besides like your lower traps. Now for back width, let's talk about some basic anatomy. I know when I normally say basic anatomy, I go pretty in depth, but for this, I mean really extreme basic fucking anatomy. So this is your teres major. Teres minor is pretty damn close to this too. Are you telling me that if these got bigger from purely your horizontal pulls, because lat pull downs would of course never hit these, right? That's wrong, by the way. That's just what people think for reasons. Are you telling me that this wouldn't increase back width, especially in something like a front double bi or a rear double bi? Just think of that for a second. Here's another pretty tiny muscle that is trained during your quote-unquote back thickness sessions. Tell me, what would be covering that? The traps. So sure, training this, and if it experiences meaningful hypertrophy, will push out against your traps, giving the bigger appearance of traps and added back thickness. The same can be said for your brachialis and biceps. So when you're training brachialis, are you training bicep thickness? Or are you just fucking hitting arms, bro? Like you're just doing a fucking pull day. One quick thing to mention, and thankfully this isn't such a thing anymore, but some people used to literally think that you can train in a specific way to only grow back width or back thickness. People who didn't really understand this term were trying to use it for just training their lats. They think that horizontal pulls made their lats thicker and then vertical pulls made their lats wider. Again, thankfully people don't really think of that much these days, but it has to be said in case anyone watching this does still think that. That's just, it's even more brain dead than everything else I've talked about already. Now, you were tricked. Let's talk about some actual anatomy. Your back is an insanely complex muscle group. Even just calling it one muscle group is like such an oversimplification. It's like calling your chest and abs your front. Like, there's a lot going on there. Side note, this is why it pisses me off when people have like more chest and bicep exercises than they do their entire back. For the most part, when just your everyday gym bro is talking about their back day, they're primarily talking about typically 3 muscle groups: their lats, their traps, and maybe their rear delts. Some people who read too much and understand too little will talk about the rhomboids, both the major and the minor. They'll talk about the teres major and minor. And sometimes you live in here, people talk about the infraspinatus. But then they'll forget every other muscle in the rotator cuff. And then you'll hear them talk about their low back as if there's just a muscle that exists called the low back. There isn't, just so you know. The main function of the rhomboids specifically is to retract, elevate, and rotate the scapula. They also protract the medial border of the scapula, keeping it in position at the posterior thoracic wall. It works very much in tandem with your traps and also your serratus anterior. The teres major is literally known as the lat's little helper because it basically does everything that your lats do. So if you think the teres muscles are only in charge of back thickness, well, the lat is trained through a vertical and horizontal pull. So guess what? Your vertical pulls are also going to be hitting your teres major and minor. For all you dudes that failed Anatomy and Physiology 1, and you talk about your infraspinatus, what about your subscapularis? What about the supraspinatus? There's all these tiny little muscles in there that, by the way, aren't really going to experience that much hypertrophy that you try to talk about with back thickness as if you have any understanding of how fucking people work. Now, the traps are a super cool muscle group, one of my favorite. The trapezoid is my favorite shape, maybe second favorite to a hexagon, actually. But they're up there. That is where they got their name. They're somewhat trapezoidally shaped. They're superficial, meaning they're closer to the skin. You know, the rhomboids lay deeper than them. Is a very large muscle. Trapezius is a muscle made up of particularly long muscle fibers spanning a large width of the upper back. Back width. Functionally, this enables the trapezius to assist in mainly postural attributes, allowing and supporting the spinal column to remain erect when the person is standing. So just so you know, the descending part is the upper fibers, the ones that attach to your neck, or what I have bulging out of every shirt I wear. The middle part is just that, in the middle section there. And then the ascending fibers are the low ones. It can be a little bit confusing, but these fibers are ascending. So the upper traps, they elevate the pectoral girdle. Think about it. You're doing shrugs, bam, that's mostly all upper trap. Obviously the entire thing will contract, but there is a pretty heavy significant bias leaning on the upper traps. The middle part retracts the scapula, bam. Imagine what you're doing during a bench or when you're doing a row trying to fucking retract your scapula, training for back thickness. The ascending part depresses shoulders, pulls your shoulders down in position. If you have strong enough mind muscle connection with your traps, you can feel them contract when you do just that. The upper and the lower traps rotate scapular upwards. I'm doing it right now. You can't see it, but it's happening. So of the main function that you're training for your back thickness is the tiniest portion of your traps when you're doing horizontal rows, which is the retraction of the scapula. Obviously, all of them will contribute to retraction. But again, if we're talking about biasing here and training for back thickness, you really should be having high pull fucking shrug days on your fucking thickness days, but you're not. You're doing horizontal pulls and you're thinking that that's accomplishing everything you want to. That's not how this works. Here's a good picture here of the lat and the trapezius all meeting together with the thoracolumbar fascia there. Don't even ask me about fucking isolating portions of your lat. That'll be a future video. Don't worry about it. You can't. So here for action, we have the latissimus dorsi works collaboratively with the teres major and pectoralis major to perform actions of the upper extremity. Together, these muscles will work to adduct, medially rotate, and extend the arm at the glenohumeral joint. So the lats will bring the arm in. You can feel your lat fucking tighten when you do just that. Also an arm extension, so pulling down like that. Again, think of lat prayers or a pullover. That's exactly what the fucking lat is there to do. You don't have to worry too much about medially rotating your arm here, as you're not really going to be training lats in any way that uses it. So the lats, along with the teres major and sternal head of the pec major, is also active in the extension of the humerus. Extension and adduction will be the strongest when the motion is started from a position of partial flexion or abduction or combination of the two motions. The muscle is also active in moving the trunk forward and upward when the upper extremities are fixed overhead, as in climbing or performing an activity such as a chin-up.
Another shirt change. There, you now understand any movement that uses the lats will already be using plenty of the smaller muscles that you hope to train when you're trying to go for back width or back thickness. When you do any horizontal pull that is retracting the scapula, you're not just working the upper back musculature, you're also going to be working your lats. Therefore, anytime you try to focus on back thickness, you are focusing on the lats, which are supposedly your goal on your days where you focus on back width. But the back width days are already hitting things that you think you're hitting during back thickness, and you get the point. And guys, that is the video. I want to be clear, I don't have a problem differentiating your training. You say you have 2 different pull days. One day could be more lat focus, and then one day could be like a hinge or spinal erector work or upper back focus if you really want to go that far. I just want us to be more clear with our terms and kind of comprehend that sometimes the goals you think you're shooting for are just a meme. The body is more complex than just breaking things down into 2 arbitrary camps of width or thickness. If you like this style of content, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know why I'm an idiot or why you love me. And if you really want to support me, you can follow all of these socials. They'll be linked in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.